2 minutes, let me remind you this is not dead yet. Why email marketing is still a crucial part or a linchpin of your B2B marketing programs. Ron, if at any time you don't see what you think you should be seeing, just jump in and we'll get synced up. But this is me, a bit about me. Actually, you don't need to know a thing about me on this webinar. If you Google me, this is what you'll get. And this is where I tend to hang out most of the time that I'm not working. So you can learn pretty much everything about me through those two websites. Let's do a level set here. We'll talk about what email marketing is, and then we'll get into our agenda in a few minutes and allow plenty of time for questions at the end. Email marketing is a form of direct marketing which uses electronic mail as a means of communicating messages to an audience. So in its broadest sense, every email that you send to a potential or current customer could be considered email marketing, but the term usually refers to sending email messages with the purpose of enhancing your relationship with a customer or previous customer, or to encourage your customer loyalty or repeat business. Sending email messages with the purpose of acquiring new customers or convincing current customers to purchase something right away, or adding ads onto an email message sent by other companies to their customers, and generally sending messages over the internet, as you can send messages over the Ethernet lines in a variety of forms. In a recent report, I read the Wall Street Journal says that business users receive between 80 and 199 commercial email messages every day. So if you spend 1 minute disposing of every message that you receive every single day in your inbox, well, that would mean over 3 hours of your day would be spent on email management. Does that sound like a big part of your day today? 3.3 hours is nearly half of the workday. Of course, most people don't spend a minute on each email. In fact, further research says that the average email gets about 7 seconds worth of attention. That's 7 seconds. And that's email that you want to open, that might seem interesting because of its subject line or from a sender that you recognize. And we'll talk about the implications of that later on in our talk here. 92% of marketers are using or are planning to use email marketing this year. That makes it the most widely adopted marketing tactic. With email adoption pervasive and our customers' inboxes crowded, we're going to have to move beyond the old spray and pray strategy or the batch and blast strategy and work harder to stay relevant. So to do this, we're going to have to not only create compelling campaigns, but also have a stronger focus on analysis and management of our position in the inbox and reputation management of digital communications. We'll talk about some of those things later on in this presentation. So here's what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll leave lots of time at the end for discussion and for questions. Now, the not dead yet part of the title of this webinar comes from one of my favorite Monty Python sketches, where in a medieval setting, a cart that's being pushed by a serf walks through the center of the town, and he yells, "Bring out your dead, bring out your dead," and a young man carries what looks like a sack of potatoes out to the cart, but turns out that it's the man's father, who isn't dead yet. And a funny argument ensues between the young man and the cart pusher and the presumably dead father, where the father exclaims that I'm not dead yet, and that I think I'll go for a walk. I feel happy. So that reminded me of this when I read headlines that say that email is dead, that Facebook is killing email, that email is dying. It's not quite dead yet, despite some people wanting to declare it so. We'll talk about the number one reason to use email marketing today, and here's a hint. It has to do with money. And then we'll spend some time, because I often get a lot of questions about this, we'll spend some time at the end about what are the elements of an effective email. What do you pay attention to, and what should you focus on? So social media, as I alluded to, is the shiny new object for marketers to play with by far this year. And social channels are great, and marketers are doing some innovative things with them, with Facebook, with Twitter, with YouTube, and all kinds of social sharing services. However, it's not an either-or situation. It can be an and way of weaving together social elements into your email marketing programs. Social media and email work great together, like two peas in a marketing pod. A recent Marketing Sherpa study found that 75% of daily social media users said that email is the best way for companies to communicate with them. And 49% of Twitter users said that they made an online purchase because of an email. So even if you aren't leveraging social media for your company today, you can still get in the game by allowing your email readers to share your email online on their social networks where they go. It's like having a bunch of mini PR agents working for you, helping to spread your message. And when somebody shares your email message, your messaging on a social network, it's really the instantiation of viral marketing. The email company Silverpop estimates that posted messages have an average increase in reach of more than 24% based on the original email messages delivered. And their study found that social media share links included in your email messages, they were receiving click-through rates of about 0.5%, which it may not sound like much, but it is significantly higher than the click-through rates of the traditional forward this email to a friend links that marketers have been using for years. So even with a limited staff and money, you can still get in the social media game. Everyone needs to start somewhere, so why not start here? So adding social media share tools into your email is something that you should definitely consider. So what's the biggest proof point that email marketing in general and the industry in particular is not dead? Well, it's this huge industry of community buying sites. They're led by the 900-pound purple gorilla Groupon here with a $6 billion valuation today. Yeah, that's billion with a B. So what's Groupon's secret to making all this money? Groupon provides us with a great example of email marketing and why it's not dead. Now, I understand social media is an important contribution to Groupon's success, but the power of their email marketing is almost unsurpassed. First of all, the offers are really good. They offer tremendous discounts, and they offer it with businesses that are already known. So a lesson for us to learn from Groupon's tremendous success is to link the messages in our email marketing to things that our customers are already thinking about. Do you think that a restaurant down the street is going to scam you? Probably not. So secondly, there's a time-based approach here. The deal ends quickly. There's a sense of urgency created. You've got less than 24 hours to buy it, or it's gone. And if you're confident that the deal is going to work and that it's time-based and there's a sense of urgency, it really feeds into our impulses to buy. Groupon has been exceptional and provides a great case study in how to get into people's inbox, which is if people like what you have to offer, they're going to accept your emails. Getting people to open up the emails. If there's a reason to open, like the headline, and we'll talk about that in a minute, your email is going to be read. Getting people to take action in the email and click on the links in there. If they like what they read, they're going to read more. And getting people to actually buy the product. And this has to do a lot with trust, with urgency, and with the offer, which we'll talk about more later. And by the way, Groupon knows how to build a great unsubscribe page for their email newsletter. I was telling Ron earlier, clicking on the unsubscribe link in the Groupon email takes you to this web page confirming that you're unsubscribed, but they also express sorrow at seeing you leave, and they offer this funny video to punish their IT guy responsible for sending out the email. And adding this bit of humor and the simplicity of the unsubscribe process, it leaves you with a positive feeling about their company and the service. This is a great reminder that every bit of transactional information that we provide our customers is an opportunity to seal the brand of our company with them, to demonstrate who we are and what we're about. Now, I suggest you go to their unsubscribe page to check out the complete video to get the full effect, or you can search for Groupon unsubscribe in YouTube to see it. Now, I get asked this all the time, and I imagine that this will come up during the Q&A session, so let me just answer it right now. Now, most folks will say, when you're talking to B2B people, most folks say the best time to send an email is Monday through Friday, or probably Tuesday through Thursday, or some people will tell you 10 a.m. on Tuesday is the best time to do it. But the data really tells a different story. Now, this information's from a commercial emailing service. It's called MailChimp, and they analyzed, along with HubSpot, billions, with a B, of email messages of all kinds, trying to figure out the best time and day to send out email. And what they found is it doesn't matter. Click-through rates go up on the weekends, on Sundays and on Saturdays. People tend to have a lot more time to read through all their email, especially if it's sent to them on their mobile device. On weekends, they go through it. That's pretty surprising. Weekends have much, much higher click-through rates. And I can validate this from personal experience. As part of a sales and marketing conference I co-founded called DemandCon, we sent over 1 million emails out. And the most surprising response time to me, the biggest spike, was 6 p.m. on Sunday night, local time. Now, I don't know where you are on Sunday evenings, but I'm not at work, and I'm probably trying hard not to think about work. But this is the data. And then when you look at the unsubscribes rates, which is the number of people who unsubscribe to your email from it, most of the unsubscriptions actually happen on Monday and Tuesday morning, which is when a lot of us think we should send out email. So people read their emails mostly throughout the day. Almost 100% of the people in their analysis say they read their email in the mornings, but over 70% of the people still said they read their email at night. So emailing later in the day isn't really so dangerous. It seems like there may be a spike earlier in the morning, very early, so you're top of the inbox first thing in the morning, maybe 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Local time, sending really early in the morning. You'll be there top of the inbox. But generally, there is no extraordinary trend saying this is the best time, this is the best day. So I told you I was going to talk about the #1 reason that marketing needs to use email marketing as part of their plan. And it's something obvious if you're thinking beyond the channel tactic of using email messages. It's not that it's trendy now. It's not. With all sorts of regulatory and compliance issues across the world, it's going to be more and more difficult to manage email. There are blacklists, whitelists to worry about, deliverability issues with individual ISPs. You've got spam filters of all kinds, competition for your attention, unsubscribe rates are going up, and even social media backblow about your campaign. So with all of that, what is the #1 reason to continue to do email marketing? It works. And it isn't just that it works, though the money that marketers spend on it is a pittance compared to other channels. Email delivers the highest return on investment by an eye-popping margin. This is from the Direct Marketing Association. which is no stranger to other direct response tactics. Email returned $48.56 for every dollar spent on it. This is from a DMA Power of Direct economic impact study, and which that compares to $7 for every dollar spent on print catalogs and $22.52 for every dollar spent on non-email internet marketing. And email lets you maintain a relationship with your customers that lasts well beyond visitors to your website. A newsletter is a perfect website companion because it answers a different user need. Newsletters keep customers informed and in touch with your company, and websites give customers detailed information and let them perform business transactions. Newsletters are fairly cheap. They require very little technology, and they can't be published too frequently, so they're not going to be a burden on your organization. So if you don't have a newsletter, publishing one is probably one of the highest ROI actions that you can take. And newsletters have one more benefit. They are an essential way to liberate your content from the search engines. You're not dependent on search engine rankings or ad spending to get your content in front of interested buyers. So let's talk about a use of email that's quite near and dear to my heart. I've been in demand generation for just about 9 years now, and out of 17 years in marketing. What does that mean? It means that instead of just doing email marketing, which I've been doing since 1995, I focus on multi-channel, multi-touch, integrated marketing campaigns. Now, in plain English, that means that I combine email with other tactics, with search engine marketing, with search engine website optimization, with landing pages, with websites, with social media selling and helping and responding in forums and direct mail and so on. I integrate those marketing tactics to create compelling conversations, or at least that's the goal, with customers. So what is lead nurturing? So inquiries that come into your website, that come to your company that are not yet ready to buy, should be retained by marketing, and they should be nurtured over a period of time. The communications that you send to them are value add in terms of content, and they provide further calls to action to allow the contacts to raise their hand. There's a lot of information on lead nurturing published online, but I want to share with you some important tips that I've learned and I share with my clients that I've picked up over time. Number one is do not initiate a contact with a customer without a clear objective. So as you're thinking about what to do in your lead nurturing program, think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Number two, start with the customer, not the product. Don't start talking about yourself. Talk about the need that your product fulfills in the mind of the customer. Number three, and this is really important in lead nurturing programs, pick up where the last interaction left off. So if you're having a conversation with somebody and then you see them again a couple of weeks ago, how annoying is it to have to reintroduce yourself to them? So in your online communications, pick up where the last interaction left off. And a corollary to that is don't ask the customer for the same thing more than once. If you've asked them for their name and their email address and their company name, don't ask for the same information again from the same person. Next, deliver information that reflects what you know about them. So if you've captured my company name and my industry name and the size of my company, there's this transaction, this psychological transaction that goes on between the person supplying the information and you. And they're expecting that you're going to use that information to better serve them. So come up with a strategy for tying what you're asking for with what value you're delivering to them in a lead nurturing program. So why lead nurturing programs? And the reason to nurture leads is that most customers most customers in a B2B setting, most customers are not yet ready to buy from you. Cirrus Decisions, which is an analyst firm out of Connecticut, you should really check out their research if you're into B2B selling, if you're interested in B2B selling. Cirrus Decisions did a study a while back. And what they found is that of all the leads that companies generate, B2B companies generate, 80% of those inbound leads, 80% of the hard-won leads that are generated get no follow-up at all. Only 20% of all leads that come into B2B companies get any kind of follow-up at all. It gets more interesting. Of those 20% that deserve the attention or earn the attention of the sales team, 70% of those are disqualified. And many of us have had the experience of coming back from a trade show and providing a list to the sales team, which they dutifully eyeball for 12.5 seconds, and then throw in a drawer because none of the names seem interesting, and that's disqualified. And 30% of the leads that are followed up on do eventually get qualified. But here's the kicker. Of those that are disqualified, 80% of those buy anyway. 80% of those people buy anyway from you, or more likely your competitor, because you didn't follow up with them. What that means is out of 100 leads that go in, that you generate, 6 become viable sales leads in your pipeline. 6 out of 100. That's 94% inefficiency. If there was a defect rate that high anywhere else in the organization, you'd be out of business. Ron and I were talking about this before because it all comes back to what makes a conversation memorable. And in email marketing, you're initiating a conversation. I was talking about being a demand generation marketer a minute ago. And as somebody that focused on developing compelling conversations, I'm really interested in what it is that makes a conversation useful. Or more specifically, what are the sociological elements of a conversation that I can emulate or draw from in email marketing? So let's look at a familiar place, and let's look at this conversation. Hello. Huh. Good weather out there. Yeah. Can we talk about X? Later's better. Okay. That's not very compelling, is it? Now, here's a conversation that we might be able to recognize. It seems a little more empathetic. You can see there are elements here of sense and response. There's this empathetic component to it. It's relevant to the situation that the other communicant is in right now. And a result of all those elements, that trust is built. So we need to keep these aspects in mind as we craft our email marketing, because our goal as marketers is to create ongoing, meaningful dialogues with all of our customers and our prospects that incorporate all of these aspects. So how can we scale our efforts at having thousands of these conversations every day within our budget and our resource constraints? And the goal is email lead nurturing. And I'll share with you a story about a nurturing campaign I ran at a company I was at some years ago. There were a series of emails called Ways to Get Promoted at Your Company. That was the subject line. And each of they were like an old-time shell answer man booklets that you used to be able to get at gas stations around the country, where each booklet you got, and they were released periodically. Each booklet would cover one topic. So this nurturing campaign overall was how to get promoted. And as I sent out the campaign, I noticed as I looked at the reply tos, you know, people who write back to you to unsubscribe by email or to ask a question or whatnot, I was hearing from this one woman during the nurturing campaign, and she responded to the automated email with with this quick message. She says, "I think I'm going to try this. Wish me luck." And then the second email got a response from her to the effect of, "Great advice. I think I'm ready to ask for a promotion now." Well, the end of the story was she made a business case for our software at her company. She did a great job being a champion at her company. And and we sold the deal, and she got the promotion. And after they were a customer, I met her at our user conference. She said that the nurturing campaign we sent her gave her the inspiration and the courage to go forward and propose this new way of doing business at the company. That's the power of good conversational marketing. I'm asked frequently about how do you know a nurturing program is done? How do you know how many steps it needs? Do you send out 3 emails over 3 weeks or 5 emails over 10 weeks? Or what's the right combination and frequency in sending your email? And my answer is this. How do you know when your toast is done? Now, my grandmother, Katie, she used to make toast the way it's shown here on the far right. In fact, for much of my childhood, I thought the proper way to prepare toast was to burn it, then scrape off the burnt part, and then spread butter over the top. My son, on the other hand, likes to toast the far left there. It's just barely heated, just a touch of warmth. My point is that there is no one way to know how long a nurturing campaign should last, because it's not about your sales and marketing cycle that's important. It's about the buyer's needs, and buyers are different. You'll have to monitor their progression through your campaigns and see what they're clicking through to, how they're responding, what the unsubscribe rates are, and then you make some decisions to adjust from there. When is the toast done? It's done when it's done. Here's an example of a lead nurturing campaign from a company called Administaff. So over an 8-month time span, they sent a series of targeted, personalized email communications to their prospect base. Recipients could opt out at any time, or they could request a call from a salesperson at any time, which would pull them out of the automated program and drop them into the sales queue. This is an example of a very, very simple email nurturing program. It didn't branch off to do things as a result of prospect behavior on the Administaff website, for example. It didn't include content personalization areas that customize the content by role or industry or size of company, which I recommend that you try once you get past the basics. It didn't syndicate content out to microsites or suck in live RSS feeds, which is all possible using marketing automation technology today. This was very simple, well-designed drip marketing program. The results were an open rate of 34% to at least one communication and a click-through rate of 3.4%, which is fantastic for a non-transactional email. By the way, the definition of a transactional email, and this is important for canned spam and other regulatory compliance, is one that you send as a result of somebody ordering something or requesting something from you. Voxi is a speech services company. It's located near me here in Alameda, California. They took a look at an underused asset that they had. They had their existing database, and they developed this Wake from the Dead email campaign. This campaign went to their existing database. They'd already paid for those leads, and their goal was try to get prospects to reengage. It was their most successful program for generating revenue of the entire year at the company. So now that you're hopefully convinced that email marketing is not yet dead, I'm not dead yet, and it's not even walking around with a severe head cold, and you see the value of email marketing to your organization as part of a healthy integrated marketing program. So how do you do it? So we don't have time to conduct a full course on design and development of cohesive emails, but I want to share with you some of the best tips I've learned over the years in doing email marketing, particularly to a B2B audience. First of all, a test. You have 7 seconds to read the next slide. Ready? Okay, go. Now, if you're like most people, and 7 seconds is the average amount of time people spend looking at your email, if you're like most people, you scan your emails. You pick out the most salient information in the shortest amount of time possible. You pick out the most salient information in the shortest amount of time possible. Or do you? You actually don't read the most important information in that email within the 7 seconds. You pick out the most noticeable information. You scan. You read headlines. Your eyes go to text that's bolded. You look at images. You look at underlined links. You read subheads. You notice pull quotes. Your eyes go to nearly everything else on the page that looks different, and you don't necessarily look at the most salient information unless it's called out specifically. So how do we know this? We know this because there's a way of measuring it. It's called a heat map. And the way it works is that small cameras observe your eye movements, observe the movements of test subjects who are looking at the email on the screen or a web page, reading something online, and it records what the person looks at and for how long. The longer they look, the brighter the color in this. So red would be really hot. It's called a heat map, and there's great software, by the way, for measuring this, for measuring heat maps. It's on your website. It's called crazyegg.com. You can go on and I think sign up for free, crazyegg.com, to do website heat maps. So heat maps measure where the eyes go and for how long. And what researchers have found is that there's this F pattern reading on the site. That is, the eyes tend to move over an email in the shape of a letter F. You see the F there on the left side? The F pattern's implications for email is pretty clear. Users won't read your text thoroughly in a word-by-word manner. Exhaustive reading is rare, especially when prospective customers are conducting their research to compile a short list of vendors like you. Yeah, some people will read more, but most people won't. The first 2 paragraphs have to state the most important information. There's some hope that users will actually read that, but they'll probably read more of the first paragraph than the second. Start the subheads, the paragraphs, your bullet points with information-carrying words that users will notice when they're scanning down the left side of your content in the final stem of their F behavior. They'll read the 3rd word on a line much less often than the first 2 words. It's really interesting, if you've never seen an eye tracking study done, to see the slow motion replay of the user's eye movements. Every page has issues beyond just the F pattern that we're talking about here. But it's worth looking into and designing your content so that it matches with this general trend to design your emails in this way. So talk quickly, and I'm going to give you some other points here and try and leave some time for questions at the end. When it comes to from lines, people respond to people, but they also probably identify your company by a company name. So the recommendation is to use a from line that includes somebody's name and then a comma and then the company name in it, so that you've got the greatest chance of recognition, just like this company has right here. 5 simple principles of subject line writing. So you want to convey something that is important or timely or valuable. Think about what Groupon does that offers end right away and people need to act quickly. You want an intriguing subject line. You want to stimulate their brain. You want to activate their imagination, which prompts them to want to know more. You want to make sure that you maintain the trust that you have. If somebody clicks on your email, that's an implicit declaration of trust. And if you promise something that you don't deliver and pay off in the email or ultimately through your landing page, then you're going to see your unsubscribe rates skyrocket. You want it action-oriented. If you have more verbs in your subject line, they tend to get higher open rates than those that have fewer verbs. And you want to make sure that the from line and the subject line work in parallel. Here's some great examples of subject lines that work. Here's got a question in it. It's intriguing, and it activates your imagination. You may not know that newspapers and magazines have a guideline to write headline copy at a third grade reading level. A third grade reading level. And you should follow the same approach without passing judgment on this. Just accept that this is true and understand that there's a reason why so many emails go out with this kind of header copy. 7 reasons why, 15 reasons for. Some people really hate lists viscerally. A lot of marketers do. They think that it unnecessarily constrains the ideas that you're trying to get across. Well, get over it. The reason that these things are used, the 6 most important ideas for writing persuasive online copy, the reason that those things are still in use is because they work. And then tie the header or the link within the copy to the specific landing page so that you're consistent when the user clicks on the subject that they are reading, on the link, that they don't go to a landing page that doesn't reflect the content that they just read, because it's a unified customer experience. All right, a quick word on developing an offer. You have to provide something that doesn't seem overly salesy. People have a natural suspicion of commercial email. So to the extent that you can provide a solution to a problem that your recipient has, or a third-party validated endorsement of a point of view, you're going to see a much higher response rate than if you create something that is purely self-serving. And so many emails now have product-specific information that don't include analyst reports or third-party article reprints or other research that's published, and it really damages the ability of the email to generate a kind of response. So quick tips on writing good copy for the body. Write for the customer, not for yourself. Make it short. Don't be overly wordy. You can always put more words on the landing page, or save it for another email. Above the fold means the amount of copy that somebody can read in one screen without having to scroll. And we'll talk about that in a second when we talk about mobile marketing. But make sure that the call to action links are above the fold. And remember that the user is constantly asking for you to answer the question, so what? One of the interesting new trends is, especially with Gmail, some of the email services, the overall size of your inbox is no longer an issue. A lot of people are using their inbox as an archive. So if they want to find out some information, if it's relevant to them or their industry or their business, the first place they might look is their inbox. They consider that special scrub data because it's personalized to them. They haven't deleted it. It's like, you know, your own stack of books in your office there. It's their own archive of data. So as an email sender, what you need to think about is, how do you get your email archived? How do you make your email worthy of archiving? How do you make your email something that people want to come back to and want to be able to access later? Because that's definitely going to increase the performance of your email over time. So the takeaway there is to include reference information in your email. That's the data, statistics, tools, graphs, charts, infographics, how-tos, the useful information that somebody just doesn't get one piece, one bit of use out of and then forgets. If you use that information, if you use stuff in your emails that people want to refer back to often, if it's a cheat sheet, if it's a conversion chart, if it's something useful like that, people will search their email inbox and find your email, and they'll refer to it over and over, and they'll forward it, and it becomes something for other people to refer back to and get seen many more times than it would originally be on its first open. I want to share this with you. Josh Burnoff is a principal analyst at Forrester Research, one of the most plugged-in people in the online world. His book with Charlene Lee, which is called Groundswell, investigated the importance of user-generated content in business. So when Josh shared the most notable commercial email he'd received on his blog, it was definitely noteworthy. He gets a ton of email, and to notice this and then call it out It's really a good example for us. In this email, it's written with a minimum of design. It's got personalization there at the top. It's written in a human voice, just like a personal email would, just like a conversation, a good conversation does. It's filled with vivid language and vignettes like a good story. It's got short sentences. It employs the use of questions. It activates multiple senses at once. It's short. It's written in that third grade style. It had an attractive image. Your eye gets pulled down the page. It's a really, really good email. But that email that Josh Burnoff received is the exception rather than the rule. There's a survey published in Marketing Sherpa, which you should check out their research. It's really great at marketingsherpa.com. In the survey, nearly half of consumers are unhappy with the email content they're getting from vendors. Nearly half of the work that you are doing to produce content is deemed unworthy by the very people you're writing it for. It's really a heartbreaking statistic, but for us, for all of us, it really represents a lot of opportunity. Think about your opportunity to break through with content that is compelling or interesting or funny or useful or educational or different. So here are 5 last tips, 5 things to remember, 5 mental bookmarks for what to think about as you're crafting your email marketing programs. First, use a persona. And what is a persona? It's a detailed profile that represents real people. It's a prototype of your target audience that you're trying to reach. You can use personas to understand a user's preferences, to clarify their goals, to create targeted, meaningful content towards them, to get a better handle on their relevancy and need. Designing campaigns with real people in mind is really the only way to measure your campaign success. So create a persona encompassing people with shared common interests and demographics, and group those people together in designing your campaigns. Secondly, repurpose your content. So many people ask me, they say, Steve, how do I find time to create the content for my email marketing? Here's a couple of ways that you can repurpose content that you have. You can turn your PowerPoint decks into articles or email. If your company does a lot of public speaking or you deliver a lot of customer presentations, you can leverage some of the research and the content that's created for those presentations as a complement to your email marketing programs. Or you can do interviews. I did a lot of interviews over email with interesting people that I then republished into a newsletter that we sent out periodically. Or if you've had a long article published in a magazine or an online location, you can break up that long article into a series of emails, add a unique introduction and summaries to each, and you can send it out as a nurturing campaign. Or you can repurpose press releases. You can write them conversationally as an email, linking out to relevant resources. It's actually an interesting exercise to take a formal announcement and imagine how that news then can be explained conversationally. At DemandCon this year, marketing automation software company Marketo discussed the economic impact of the number of form fields. They did this extensive test of the conversion rates between a long form field with 9 fields and a medium length form with 7 fields. Anyway, what they found out was interesting. On average, a long form converted at a rate of 10%. So 1 out of 10 people who hit that form would fill it out. The cost per lead Marketo calculator was about $41.90. By using the medium length form, same content, same offer on the registration page, they were able to increase conversions from to 12% from 10%. But what was the most remarkable was that the shortest form was the killer performer. They were able to increase the conversion. Same page layout, same colors, same everything on the page, only with a 5-field form. It's a 13.4%. And they were able to save about $9 per lead just by asking for less information. Fourth tip is to segment. So this goes hand in hand with personas. You might be tempted to blast your entire database of contents with the same information. This means that your brand new contacts are receiving the same level of interaction as your existing contacts. Trust me when I say that at least one of those two segments is really getting annoyed in that scenario. Opt-outs are consistently occurring, and you're missing a tremendous opportunity right there. So segment your database, send the right message to the right people, and you're going to see greater success. And then finally, test. So, wouldn't it be nice if your emails got better and better response, were more and more effective? And I always get asked this question, what do I test? Just make 2 different versions of the email, change one thing on the second email, carve out 10% of your list, or 2 segments of 10%, and send them out. That's all you have to do. It's really simple, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on testing methodology and multivariate Taguchi testing. It's not that difficult, and it shouldn't be that scary. Say a word about mobile and just some tips, because mobile is more and more ubiquitous. Your recipients are reading your emails on mobile devices. So 5 quick things. Include a plain text version in every email. It may not be pretty like your HTML, but at least it will be readable across mobile platforms. Keep your links uncrowded. Don't put links in sequence, because on a mobile device they're all crammed together. So you want to make your links stand out from one another. Don't use large image links. They're going to be time-consuming for users to download over some networks. A subject line is even more important on a mobile device where people are filtering their information quickly, and have a clear call to action so people can either bookmark the page or click onto it and act on it immediately. And then lastly, a word about spamming. I get a lot of questions about how to stay out of the spam folder. So first of all, the key is to make sure that you're always mailing to an opt-in list. You need to practice good permission-based marketing. That means that people have to opt in, and you need to keep a record of that in case that you're ever challenged. And ISPs have been known to shut down entire domains due to email complaints. So this is a really serious and potentially expensive problem. So what to do tomorrow? So first of all, in your segmentation, in your persona definition, think about roles, industry, and company size. In B2B marketing, I found the most success is to be obtained in segmenting your database according to role, industry, and company size, first of all, before you do anything else. The relevance of your communication is keenly more important than frequency. In fact, if people think that your messages are relevant to them, they're willing to withstand a large number of email messages. But as soon as the value of those messages goes down, they're going to first emotionally unsubscribe from you, meaning they're not going to pay attention to your messages, and then they're going to actually unsubscribe to you or mark you as a spammer, which is going to create headaches later on. And then lastly, start testing. So test something. Test anything. You can test a subject line. You can test a header. You can test a graphic. Just create 2 versions of your next email. Carve out 10% for one test, 10% of the other. Figure out which performs better, and then send the email out to the next 80% of your list. And you'll find that you'll have better results than if you hadn't done that simple test before. There's my contact information there on your screen. There's my name. In case anything that I've said has resonated with you, you can tweet it out. That's my Twitter name. And Ron, I know we're close to the top of the hour here, but I wonder if we have time for a question or 2.
Yes, we have a few minutes for questions, and I do have several, so I'll move through those as quickly as possible. First question is from Susan. She actually asked, is it still common practice to limit subject line character length to 50 characters?
It's not common practice to limit subject lines to any particular number of characters now. I think there was a conventional wisdom based on the width of an email reader, which is generally considered to be either Microsoft Outlook if you were sending B2B email, or Yahoo or Hotmail, or more recently Gmail if you were sending to folks' personal accounts. But all that's gone out the window because there's so many form factors now between mobile email clients, people receiving business email on their personal email addresses, and the types of clients that you may use at your work. You may use Outlook, but you also may use Gmail to access it. So there's no hard and fast rule as to the length of the message. Again, the relevancy is the most important thing there. So if you write something that engages with somebody in the first few characters, they may click onto it and see the complete subject line as they're engaging with the email, which is your goal. But if you can't communicate value in those first 50 characters, then it doesn't matter how many more characters that you put into your email subject line.
Great. Thank you for that question, Susan. The next question is also from Susan. She asks, should the subject line and the header in the email be the same? I've heard that it builds trust.
So your classic Mad Men style ad copywriters will tell you, Joseph Sugarman's a great source for this sort of long form, which is what an email is, long form direct response copywriting. And he will tell you that, Joseph Sugarman will say that the purpose of the subject line of an email is to get you to read the header. And the purpose of the header is to get you to read the first line of the first paragraph. And the purpose of getting you to read that first line of the first paragraph is to read the entire first paragraph, and so on, so that your eye is literally pulled down the page by the mechanics and fuel of your interest to where you get to the calls to action and you're ready to respond. So the answer to your question, Susan, is that the email subject line and the header don't need to be exactly the same, but they need to be congruent, and they need to impel the user to want to read more.
Great, great. Thank you again, Susan. Before we move on, we just want to quickly let you know a little bit about True Influence. What we do is actually help B2B marketers reach B2B contacts and major companies, small, medium, and large. So take time to visit us at trueinfluence.com. Now, let's go on to the next question from Steve, who asks, how do you account for the increase in mobile browsing when looking at the design and content of email marketing?
You have to assume that all of the email that you sent out is going to be read by a significant percentage of your recipients. I'm making some assumptions here that you're in B2B marketing. But the number of smartphones in adoption is multiplying at an exponential rate to ordinary mobile devices, and people are engaging with their the email over mobile even when they're in the office. If you're in a meeting, if you're on the go, if you're in the hallway, your head's down, you're checking your email. So you have to make the assumption that people are engaging with your email via mobile, and optimize the experience for that mobile reader. If you're designing a flexible design, it will expand to the screen form factor of somebody who's sitting at their laptop. But you have to make it mobile accessible, or you're missing a huge opportunity.
Great. There are many more questions here. I'll ask one more by Shirley, and then we'll end the webinar. The question that Shirley is asking is, what was the name of the website offering the heat map technology, tracking evaluation of sites?
Sure. It's called crazyegg.com. So crazy, EGG, like the breakfast food.com. Mm-hmm. And you can go on the site, and I think they have a free trial, or you can set it up to do heat map testing of one of your web pages, and it'll be very illuminating to you to see what people actually look at and click on, and linger on in engaging with your copy.
Fantastic. Shirley, thank you again for your question. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. As I mentioned earlier, we will be answering your questions via email later. Thank you very much, Steve. Fantastic job. Thanks to all of you who joined us today. We appreciate your participation in this True Influence event and invite you to visit trueinfluence.com at any time to learn about upcoming events as well as past events. Again, thanks from all of us at True Influence.